Hello everyone, my name is Pinky Leah and welcome to my review of Adventure of a Lifetime. After a long playthrough of Adventure of a Lifetime, I can say that overall it is one of the better visual novels I have played. Going through one route got me 11 hours of gameplay and I still have the second route to do. Granted, if I do the second route, I won't be reading the entire visual novel again, only the new dialogue. But 11 hours for one route is pretty good for a visual novel. Adventure of a Lifetime costs $15 Canadian on Steam, and while the VN doesn't have many choices for you to make, I would say between the storyline, the animations, and the artwork, that $15 is a good price to pay. Also, it is fully voiced, but it's in Japanese, so obviously I turned that off during my playthrough. But for those of you who like the Japanese voicing, you can have that turned on in the options, and as you play through it, you'll hear them speaking in Japanese. And as I mentioned, the storyline is unique, and while yes, it's predictable, it does have some elements of surprise. For instance, I didn't expect Emily's parents to be going through a divorce, and I surely didn't expect her father to not actually be related to her. Most of the other situations I called ahead of time, like I knew the mysterious man pretty much right away was Emily's father, but that doesn't make the story any less unique than it is. For the most part as well, the story's written good. The only things I could think that could use work is the fact that they always refer to the ocean as the sea. When characters are talking about it, they almost always refer to it as the sea. And for writing, that's not good. You want to mix up the words you use so it's not redundant. So instead of it being how it was, like, oh, the ring is in the sea, but I'm scared of the sea. But why is she scared of the sea? We have to make her not scared of the sea. They could have switched it to use ocean or even water instead of saying sea all the time, because like even reading that and like reading it not out loud, it seems kind of weird to just say the sea over and over and over again. And the other thing that I noticed that the VN actually addressed in itself, which was surprising and funny at the same time, but when your character looks at the notepad, it's literally a piece of paper that was written on 16 years ago that has been underwater the entire 16 years. There is no way that would still be legible at all. But for the storyline, they kept it legible using some magic, I guess. The funny part is that the VN knows that it's unrealistic and has your character comment on how that's really weird that they can still read it after all this time. So I will give them a point for that because that was funny. The way they wrote the characters, however, and the character interactions was pretty good. How they interact with each other and how they interact according with what's happening in the story. For just a few examples, like when the typhoon was hitting, you could tell that they were panicked and worried. And then for the first half of the visual novel, you can clearly see that Emily and Chisa don't get along very well, but they grow closer together near the end. But during the first half where they're not getting along, it actually builds up the tension, and you can see that tension between them, and it actually gets let go into a fight, which I think was nicely done, because it would be kind of awkward if the tension they were building up there didn't go anywhere. So the fact that the two girls actually fought each other, as silly as the fight may have been, it was still a nice touch. And something I commented throughout the whole playthrough is the artwork. The artwork for Adventure of a Lifetime is astonishing. They have very good artists working on the VN, and the artwork really captured the moments in the story where it needed to. I think the artists did wonderfully catching emotion in the characters, and the lighting and shading and just everything not only were the characters detailed, but the backgrounds were also very detailed, and the way they added in the small animated bubbles and splashes into the artwork was beautiful. I mean, sometimes they did have transitions that were a little oddly placed, but other than that, I think it was really well done. Like when Emily sees the notepad from her father to her mother, she sees that he's not her real father, and the art depicted her shock really well, having her eyes change from the normal bright color with life in them to like the dull tone that you see in like anime. It was just beautiful. There's nothing else to say. The artwork is probably the best thing out of the entire visual novel. Now, this is more of a pet peeve of mine, but usually with VNs, I like them to be a bit more interactive than this one was. I think you maybe get to pick a choice 2 or 3 times, and I've given bad reviews on visual novels before from labeling themselves as a visual novel with 0 choices. A kiss for the petals. But this being said, you do get 2 or 3 choices, and at least one of them affects the story. So because the story was engaging enough on its own and the choices you do get to make have an impact on the storyline in some way, I'm not too upset about the lack of interaction. But I would have been happier if we got to interact more with the characters and actually seeing the choices have an effect on relationships. But that's just me. I would say that my final verdict on Adventure of a Lifetime is that it is a really good visual novel, and it is worth the money if you wanted to play it yourself, in which case the link to the Steam store page will be in the description. And that's about all I have to say about it. Astonishing artwork, pretty good writing, I like the characters, and it was worth the money, I think, for 11 hours plus of gameplay. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!